What's up YouTube? Jason here with Bytes. Welcome to episode number 2 of Jason Bites Back, aptly named by some genius in the comment section of my last video where I had no idea what I wanted to call it. In reality though, the name was kind of obvious. So just in case you missed the explanation for episode number 1, this is going to be a series that I'm doing at the end of every month. Hopefully I can keep on schedule with that. And I'm going to answer a few questions ranging anywhere from 10 to 15 different questions that I find throughout the last month. And I start by looking at all the questions on the previous Jason Bites Back video. So if you do have a question for the next video, post them down below. It's the best chance of it getting noticed. And like I said in the last video, I will be posting a list of all of the Patreon supporters at the end of this video. So I do appreciate every single one of you. Again, I'm just flabbergasted that people are giving me money. So I want to find a way to give back. Also, I'm pretty sure now I owe at least a couple people a specialized video. So if you are a Patreon supporter and you are at that $10 rate or that level that I posted, I will have a video for you. It might not be until sometime July 4th weekend because I got a lot on my plate and this weekend totally clear. All I have to do is edit one wedding video and work on that YouTube video for Patreon. So yeah. Moving forward, let's get to the questions. And the first one that I have is from Tom Lecluse. Do you know which format that Plex can direct play with subtitles? Trying to optimize my library to a format to direct play. Well, as far as I know, and this might have changed, but I'm pretty sure it hasn't, subtitles, unless burned into the video that you actually host, cannot be direct played. Now again, I don't know if there's an update or something that I missed on some random client that allows the direct play of the subtitles without the Plex server actually having to burn those into the video as it transcodes it. But as far as I know, your server will still have to work to transcode or burn in those subtitles on whatever client that you're working with. At least it does on like the Xbox, and the last time I used subtitles on my Android TV box, the Fire TV, it also had a transcode on there. I don't use subtitles a lot and I don't keep up on that, but I did look it up, and in the Plex help, it looks like the same explanation that I gave you is still the same as I've known before. So as far as I know, there's really no way to direct play it without pre-burning your subtitles into your media files. Question number 2 from Gil. I'm just gonna give up on last names, I'm sorry. From Gil, hey, by my bits, what's better format, MKV or MP4? Is one better than the other? Advantages / disadvantages? Thanks in advance. Well, the thing about that is that the best format like MKV or MP4, that's really just more of a container. The best like codecs like is H.264 with like AAC audio. MKV is just a different container. I personally encode a lot of videos into MP4 unless I'm really trying to get like the best audio, and it seems like I sometimes have better options going to MKV because there's like, I think there's better channel supported, like more channels if you want surround sound. I'm no way an expert on this, but as far as I know, the best way to get direct play to your clients is to figure out what your clients actually handle. Now, MP4 is going to be more suited to a wider variety of different clients because it's more widely supported, whereas MKV is being more and more supported nowadays. In fact, I think most clients handle it directly, but you're going to run into, some clients needing to transcode because they can't play them natively. So what I would do is I'd just find your primary client, the one that you're going to be using the most, and look up the specs on it. See if it can directly play like an MP4 or an MKV, and then make your library suit that main client. If you have a wide variety of them, MP4 is probably going to be your best shot, but I have a ton of MKVs. From XJK, Plex seems to struggle with high quality rips with 7.1 audio. Even with Plex Media Player, still can't direct play most files like that. Suggestions. This is actually something that I've ran into and I've tested myself, more of a curiosity type of thing. I tested wedding videos that I was making, and I was viewing them on my main entertainment center so I could, get a feel for the music and everything. And I encoded it at 50 megabits per second, which was ridiculous, but I encoded it at 50 megabits per second, and it seemed to struggle a little bit. But if I encoded it at 40 megabits per second, it didn't struggle. And this is on Zeus. It's a very powerful, Plex media server. So I don't know if it's Plex or if it's my server, but I can tell you that my server was not maxed out by any definition. So I don't know. It also really depends on what you call high quality too. Are you talking like 10 megabit files, or are you talking like 50 megabit files? If you're in the lower range of that 10, maybe 15 megabits per second and your server or the Plex client can't play it, there could be a number of different factors that are affecting this. Firstly, if you have checked your media server and your CPUs aren't completely maxed out and it looks like maybe you've just hit the bottleneck of your CPU, I would check your network, honestly. If you're using Wi-Fi, it's probably going to be your primary culprit. If not your Wi-Fi, then it could be your Ethernet, which is a little bit more of a rare instance, but it is still possible. Either way, if you're having problems with lower bit rates like 10 to 15 and you're considering that as a high bit rate, then it's probably something on either the server or the network connections. Really could be anything. I'm just saying those are the two I would start with though, Next question is from James. He said, please get the rails if you haven't already done so. You're risking not only causing damage to the rack, but possibly having the server come crashing down. Please, for the safety, get some rails. Good vid, by the way. Well, James, thank you for the concern, but I can say, not with maybe 100% certainty, but the way I have my server set up, it's not going to fall down. I can say also on top of that is that it is kind of an inconvenience not having rails. Every time I want to work on or do anything to the server, I have to like unscrew it and then manhandle the damn thing out of there. It is a big pain in the ass not having rails. I will tell you this, and I agree, I do want rails. But the thing I found with rails is that I can't find a good cheap source for just good rails that fit my server rack without costing like $80 or $100. I mean, that's probably what they cost, but geez, that's expensive. I paid like $50 for my rack. I mean, wow. So maybe in the future I might find a good budget, source for some rails, maybe rails that might cost like 20 or 30 bucks. Maybe I don't even want to trust rails that cheap. I don't really know, but for what I have, it works, and I don't think it's going to come crashing down, but thank you for the concern. Okay, Steven said, would having more than one LAN connection improve serving offsite streams? Well, I assume you're talking about like link aggregation or some kind of load balancing, and honestly, no. I'm going to go with just a basic answer of no, and I'll explain why. Maxing out a 1 gigabit connection, the standard Ethernet connection that you have going to your server, assuming you have a 1 gigabit, would be pretty difficult. You would need like Google Fiber to even hit 1 gigabit connection to offsite streams, let alone internally. So the chance of technically maxing out your throughput on your server to go into offsite streams only is pretty minimal. Now there are some factors here that could come into play where multiple connections or link aggregated connection could help you out a little bit. That would be if you were using your server for more than just serving offsite streams, primarily for internal traffic. Like let's say you're doing a file dump to your server and your server was serving like 7 or 8 streams going offsite. I could see some of that network congestion coming into play with buffering issues. But these are kind of unique situations and scenarios that I doubt you're hitting, but it's very possible. I mean, I can't judge. I have a 10 gigabit connection going directly from my server to my main computer because I ran into these situations. So it's really hard to judge. The only difference here is that when I did what I did, I dedicated that lane from my main computer to my server to only talk to each other. That's all. It's a direct line directly from the server to my main computer. I edited my host file to where anytime my main computer connects to my server, it automatically uses that IP address that I assigned to those separated NICs. So it's not using the public highway, as it were. Now you can do that with either a gigabit or a 10 gigabit connection, whatever you want. If you need that dedicated connection and you don't want to congest up your server with file dumps or accessing data or something like that. Moving on to the next question I have, Profit Bill. Have you ever tried playing different transcoded movies at once? In other words, you could be bottlenecking your system since it's trying to read the same video file 7 times as opposed to it playing back 7 different movies. This is in response to my BattleOS where I have my test server set up to test the same exact hardware and everything with different operating systems. And I've had this, people have been saying this a lot, like what if you're bottlenecking your cache drive or your media storage drive? But I keep saying I'm using SSDs for all of this. And I've said this before, I'm pretty sure I've said this before, I tested this setup with the same server with all of the hyper-threading enabled on the CPU, and it's able to hit a lot more, well, like 2 or 3 more streams than it would when I disable hyper-threading for my, my controlled test. So I know I'm not running into any bottlenecks either with the cache drive or the media drive because it's being hosted on SSDs for the specific test. And I don't want to technically try out different movies. I could if I was running into that bottleneck, I could move the same movie file to different locations, but I don't want to try out different movies because I've been using the same exact movie file for each test, and I want to keep that variable exactly the same, because if I change it to anything that has different audio or maybe a different bit rate or anything whatsoever, it would skew the results and it would make that test null and void, basically. I'm trying to get scientific with it. I try to set those variables and stick with it. It's not a scientist, but damn it, I can try. Anyways, Jeff Stevenson. So, have you figured out what new case you're going with, or are you just going to get new hot swap base? This is in response to what I said in a previous video my last Battle OS actually, where I said that my testing server chassis was giving me some issues, and it was basically the backplane. I ended up having to start plugging everything in directly to SATA ports. So I found that out that night when I was making that video, and I was having troubles with it. Actually, it was about 2 nights. I haven't really thought about it too much since, but I think what I'm really going down to is when something like this goes out, I just kind of move on, clean breakup, just be like, all right, I need something new. I got that case for free from Rosewell. It's been a fantastic case, and in their defense, I think why this is failing, and this was mentioned in the comments before, is the amount of insertions is not rated very high, compared to like server grade components. And because I've been testing this system and I have all of my spare hard drives plugged into this system, that way I can just keep track of them, and they're not being used, but they're just plugged in. And when I'm running my test, I basically unplug all of those hard drives so they're not being registered by the operating system. That basically means all of those ports have a lot of insertions, and they're being used a lot more than what they really should be, technically. I mean, if you really think about it, if you're going to be running a server like this with hard drives in it, you're going to plug that thing in there, and it's going to be in there for like years before you have to swap it out, hopefully. So I've been swapping these things out, or at least pulling them out and pushing them back in multiple times in like a week. So it's gotten a lot of usage for what it is, and it's been a great case. But I think whenever I do decide to tackle that issue, I'm probably going to look for something completely different, just because I like shiny new things. And yeah. Okay, Cyber Skulls. For the rewards, why not some of your Byte My Bits gear? Subscribers get something of value, and you get some advertising. Seems like a win-win. Yes and no. This really boils down to channel size. I'm still a small channel. I don't really technically have Byte My Bits gear. I say that wearing a Byte My Bits shirt. But when I was starting off my channel, I went and I had this printed off, just kind of like off the cuff. I printed this and just to have something to wear. It wasn't a relationship with like a distributor or anything like that. I think I went to like Vista Prints or something, and I just printed off a single shirt with the graphics that I uploaded. So I don't technically have anything like that in play, and even though I've briefly thought about it before in the past, it's just not something that I think is viable for me right now. And I mainly say that because, I know I have, definitely a good amount of subscribers right now, but I'm still a very small channel. And to go out and like have a business relationship with, a shirt distributor and printer, and get like one shirt order in like 6 months, it would just not really make a lot of sense. So maybe in the future when I can, let's say if I have a ton of subscribers, let's say I'm at 500,000 subscribers or something like that, where I'd have a larger subscriber base and I could, reach agreements that would be financially stable for me in that decision, then I might, look into doing something like that. But for what it is right now, that's just not feasible, basically. I mean, I think I paid like $24 for this shirt. So for me to give out a $24 shirt for like a $5 Patreon, subscription would not really make financial sense. So Affinity HB, it would really help me if you could convey your thoughts on why you chose the HD Home Run Extend over the HD Home Run Connect. Now this is in the video that I made with the Plex live DVR setup that I was doing. I actually installed the antenna. You can check out the video. If I remember, I'll put that in the corner above. But basically, I went with the HD Home Run mainly because of compatibility. Not saying that any other devices that Plex now supports for Plex DVR are not fully compatible, but I saw this like compatibility chart and it said, there are some things that were more easily, usable with the HD Home Run. So that's why I went with them. And then furthermore, the HD Home Run Extend over the HD Home Run Connect, literally, I just saw one thing, one feature that was more than the other. I think the extend gave me H.264 encoding, whereas the connect didn't, if my memory serves me right. It was that one feature I was like, well, if I'm gonna buy this thing, I might as well just get the best I can type of thing. So that's pretty much it. It's very little research, very little reason behind it. It was like one feature that I could use, maybe, possibly, and that's why I bought it. Now, either one of those probably would have worked just fine, but I felt like if it had like some kind of encoding options, that I can hook it up to other things, which actually might have helped me because Plex Live DVR does not work on my Xbox One. It does not work. It's not a feature yet supported. It will be in the future, hopefully, but for right now, it's not supported. However, the HD Home Run does have an app that you can download on Xbox One. So it is very possible, and I'm not saying it's doing it. I haven't really looked into it yet, but it is very possible that that extra encoding option is being used whenever I use the live TV on the Xbox One. Possibly, maybe not. Again, this really goes back to my buying decisions. I just see something that's like, well, this is good. This is a little bit better, and I'm not going to upgrade from this later, so I might as well buy the better one now. That's how I shop. It's sad. Moving on from my embarrassment, tech lifts. What is the best way measure transcoded streams? What is the best way to measure transcoded streams? Should I use multiple windows at a smaller resolution on the same network or a different network? Well, I can say this. Whatever you choose, be consistent. If you're testing, you're trying to, like see what your server can handle compared to maybe changes or upgrades that you're doing, be consistent. For mine, as an example, I went with a 2 megabit connection or a transcoded stream down from like a 10 or 11 megabit file. I did this because it was a drastic change in quality, so I definitely was making sure that the transcoder was working, and because it was a 2 megabit file and it was like reading and writing to the cache folder, it was only a 2 megabit write speed to that cache folder. So if I would have went from like a 10 megabit, to an 8 megabit, it would have been more data being written to the SSD and given me the potential to hit some kind of a bottleneck with writes. And I'm not saying, again, that's possible, but that was my idea behind it. So if you do want to test a server, just be consistent, pick something in the middle. I would say 2 megabits per second work for me really well, but whatever you think is going to test your server the best, I would go with that. And as far as the network question, definitely same network. Obviously, you don't want to test your server to try to see what it's capable of transcoding and then bottleneck yourself with internet. You don't want to do that. So test it internally, test it on another computer, use multiple windows. And a little side tip, when you're testing multiple windows in like a browser, try to only test 4 to 5 transcoded streams in one browser at a time. Browsers tend to kind of get screwy after 5, so just use multiple browsers if you're testing this on a computer, just FYI. Next one is, actually, that's it. That's all the ones I have. Okay, so that's it for today, guys. That's all the questions that I kind of, worked up for today's video. I do appreciate every single one of you for watching and commenting on my videos. I definitely appreciate it. I mean, it's humbling to have the kind of communication and interaction with the community. I try to communicate as much as possible, but I think this video allows me to kind of answer those more directly to my viewers and have a better interaction. So hopefully you guys like this video. I like doing it, and I definitely like the ability to also give a shout out to my Patreon subscribers at the end of it. So I definitely like that. Like I said to Patreon supporters, I am working on a video. I don't know if I'm doing bloopers. I don't really have funny bloopers. It's more like blah, 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 and then I start over. So I'm gonna work on a video, something special for the couple of Patreon subscribers that are at that specific tier that I made. Probably gonna be July 4th weekend before I can get that finished up, but I will definitely get that out. But just in case you missed the tweet that I made, or it was on Instagram, it was one of those two, I basically said, on June's been a slow month for me because I do wedding videos as like a side gig to try to support my YouTube hobby, and pretty much June is like one of the busiest months. And on top of that, one of the weekends in June, I have a yearly man trip that we do for our company where I go out to the river and I get really silly. I ride four-wheelers, shoot guns, and then afterwards I drink adult drinks. So I spent a whole weekend doing that, and that was amazing. And in fact, that's how I hurt myself. And yeah. If I hold these fingers down, I am unable to move like this pinky by itself. Like this pinky, it can do this. This one, if I go anything past that, Lots of pain. Can't move it up. Yeah. I don't know what I hit, but it was not good. I do have a doctor's appointment with a hand surgeon July 18th because that was the earliest I can get in. So hopefully it's nothing too serious, but it has not gotten any better. It's still, yeah. Well, that's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. Again, appreciate every single one of you. Like and subscribe below if you have not already, and have a great day, or night, or morning, whatever.